Ricky, what a great movie this is. A lot of action, great story, great, it's just great setup. You're in it the whole time. When you first got this script, what did you think about the character?
I loved it from the moment I read it. As an actor, you only really read your parts in the script because you want to know what your story arc is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I want to know what my story arc is. So once I saw my story arc, you go back and you read it from front to back, and it's just a page turner. It's so good. It really is. Like David Frugero wrote a layered, deep script that was just fantastic. Um, the characters, obviously they're in this kind of dynamic of a special forces team that's dropped into the Philippines, but you have my character Bishop, Milo Ventimiglia playing Sugar, Abel is Luke Hemsworth, Liam Hemsworth playing Kinney, and the dynamic between the characters and the brotherhood is kind of what brings this film together, because you start to care about them, immediately. So when the crap starts to hit the fan, you're worried about the outcomes. So you've kind of got that juxtaposition of like, you've got this intensity that these warriors bring, but then there's the comedy and the camaraderie between them, and that kind of mixed up with Russell Crowe's humor back on the base. He brings a lot of warmth, which is it's other than nice guys, it's something that you don't see from him in his performances. He normally brings the gravitas, which he does in this, but it's that humor element which kind of balances the kind of action-packed roller coaster thriller that A Land About is.
Yeah, and I agree with you on this point is that you really do care for the characters. You're every single thing that you guys get into during this film, you're like on bated breath to make sure everybody gets is okay by the end.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the type of movie that we're missing nowadays. Is one of those movies where it leaves you on the edge of your seat. It makes you think. You don't know where things are gonna go. When nowadays, usually everything's so like predictable. You didn't
Yeah.
know what was gonna happen next in this film.
I didn't know what was going to happen in this. When I was reading the script and the twists start coming, you're like, wait a second. What? No. Oh, what? Wait. It's fantastic. It really is great. And I agree with you. I've watched so many good films, but I don't really care about the characters. You're so invested into the CGI nowadays. Lots of studios are kind of making these movies that's just special effects this and special effects that. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And I think what you kind of get with Land of Bad is that kind of rollback to let the stunt people do it. Let our stunt men and women kind of earn their dollar and get at it. And we had an incredible team kind of working with real explosions and controlled explosions and controlled kind of environments. It's a throwback to Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible doing his things, and James Bond movies where you have real stuntmen kind of doing stuff. So it brings that authenticity, I feel, to the experience, where you genuinely worry about the characters because you're seeing them in like real life situations. It's not this kind of CGI world that we've kind of slowly gotten used to in the last couple of years.
Exactly, and that's the one thing that we do definitely want to talk about is the action, the stunt work. What was it like to do that? I mean, you're physically fit. I'm sure it wasn't that hard to do, but it
Stop it,
looked
years.
it looked like a little it was a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of the things that you got to do in this film. What was it like to do the stunt work and to not only be able to do your own, but I'm sure you had a stunt man just in case for anything that was really dangerous.
It was crazy. It was so much fun. Firstly, we were trained by the Australian Special Forces under the guidance of Paul Cale, who's a vet who's obviously experienced all this kind of warfare for real. So the insight and the stories we got from him, and then the training of how to stand, how to move, mannerisms, how to hold a gun, how to hold a gun in combat, how to hold a gun when you're not, when you're relaxed. How you would speak to each other, in a special forces Delta team like we were, where every person is, what they're going to do, because the slightest hesitation and people die. So it really was intense, and the training was really kind of thorough before we even got into set, which was really exciting. And then we very quickly realized the physicality of this movie, because we'd start filming at like 2 in the morning before sunrise, because we had a lot of dark scenes kind of to do. and we'd shoot all through the morning up until like 12 o'clock. And you know, you're exhausted, your day's done. Like by 12 you're ready to go to sleep because you're exhausted. But we would go to the gym because, you know, you want to remain physically fit and you want to look good in the movie. But we very quickly realized that the physicality of the actual production, you didn't need to be doing leg days. You didn't need to be doing arm days because you're carrying extra weight with all your equipment, your assault rifles. Bishop, my character, has an extra sniper rifle. He's the sniper of the team. So that's an extra 50, 100K, 100K, 100 pounds that he's kind of carrying around, which is a lot of weight on your joints. And then with that combined with the Australian landscape, we were exhausted. You know, forget gym memberships, just kind of run up and down the, you know, mountains with all this equipment on and you were good. So very physical, but very fun and very safe. And that kind of just lets you really just enjoy the acting. You know, you're kind of just free to just focus on your characters.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing I do want to ask you about is how much this film, with everything going on in the world, we're seeing our military uh, in different parts of the globe. And how much does this show like it kind of gives you a nice good spirit and reminds you how great how supportive we have to be towards our military and what they go through in this type of combat field, especially with everybody. How do you feel about that this is showing such a great light towards our military?
With the stories that Paul Cale kind of gave us about his combat, and this is just a glimpse, you know, like I mentioned, all that weight, the physicality of carrying everything around. That was 8 weeks. They do this day in, day out, every week, every month, with real life threats. You know, every day is life and death. And those immense physical sacrifices are one thing. But as an Air Force child, my dad was in the Royal Air Force. You also have to understand the sacrifices mentally and personally that they make, leaving their family behind, sometimes days, weeks, months, years, to protect their country, to keep us all safe. You know, it's something that we'll never understand. You'll never understand what it takes to do that sort of thing. And they do it without hesitation. They do it without being asked. You know, they want to protect us all together. And so I have nothing but honor and respect. And we've done a beautiful thing where we were able to travel up to a few air bases. We just recently did Edwards in California Air Force Base and show this movie to the troops before it comes out into theaters. So to give it a little bit back and to just say thank you and to meet the troops and to get their real responses, because I know the audience is going to love this movie. If you love an action film, you're going to love Land of Bad. It's an epic thriller ride that they're going to love. But to show the forces and get their positive response that they loved it, to show this authentic and as much as possible, obviously, was a real buzz for us. You know, it's a real joy. And I'm really excited that the fact that they could like kind of let go of the, you know, well, this, you wouldn't do this and you wouldn't do that, and just enjoyed the movie. You know, there was after one of the Q&As that we had up at Edwards, one soldier said, an officer said, oh, it's his wife. His wife says he complains at every single military movie about this, about that, and it takes a lot to impress him. And he only had one gripe with our movie, and it was something really trivial, like something at the end of the movie that which was just a personal preference. Everything else was, he was happy, and he said, I genuinely enjoyed it and switched off. That's how good that movie was. And so for us, for authentic military people to really let go and just enjoy this as an entertainment experience is the biggest pride I could have. You know, we've entertained our guys who do nothing but sacrifice for us day in, day out.
Yeah, exactly. And before I let you go, we got to mention this. We put up the trailer on our websites and threw it to social, and it did huge numbers. I can only
Really.
imagine what this weekend's going to be like because it seems like there's a lot of anticipation towards this film. You shot it in Australia and New Zealand, correct? Or around that area?
In Australia,
In
the
Australia.
beautiful Gold Coast.
Okay, cool. Because I have one viewer from MUSE TV down in Australia who literally took pictures of the set behind us, saying they were shooting behind our house. And he's been pushing the movie as well. I think it's going to do great this weekend. And you got to watch it in theaters. That's the only way you could watch a movie like this is in theaters.
Without doubt, we've been to a few screenings, and the very first screening that we went to, we actually bust one of the speakers because the sound is so epic. The visuals, the music, the score, the explosions. It really is a visual masterpiece. And William Eubank, I believe, is one of the he's the next generation of incredible action directors. He's there with your J.J. Abrams, your Michael Bays of the action world. It's it's a phenomenal watch, and to watch it at home is a joy and a gift. But to watch this in theaters is a completely different experience. It really is just awe-inspiring on the big screen. I've seen it a couple of times now. There's bits that I miss. There's bits that I find every time I watch it, and I'm really excited to see how the audiences react.
Awesome. Ricky, thank you so much for stopping with us. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Land of Bad is out this Friday. Definitely get your tickets now. Pre-book. Make sure you're there because you're not going to want to miss this film. The sound is awesome. Ricky, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, buddy. You have a great day.
You too.